Good evening, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. Baby, ma'am.
Good evening.
Baby boy, good evening.
Good evening, teachers.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Evening.
Good evening to all.
Hello, good evening.
I request
Good
all
evening.
the panelists to switch off their microphone and switch on their cameras. It's a humble request to all. Kindly switch on your microphone when you are speaking, because otherwise we get extra sounds. So, shall we start off? Shall we start off, sir? Yeah. Pranay, sir? Pranay, sir? We can start, isn't it? I'm starting, sir. We have witnessed a lot of change in the past few years. But when COVID created havoc, we were totally unprepared for it, which caused a lot of physical and mental stress. The entire system has turned topsy-turvy. Talking about the educational system, from the green board to white virtual board, from chalk and duster to the mouse click, from offline classes to the online classes. Every institution, organization had been forced into rapid Big Bang, that is tech-driven practices. Right from the students, teachers, parents, and every person associated with the system were in a great stress as to how to fight out the situation and make it a new normal way of life. Myself, Sharbani, welcome you all to the virtual panel discussion on the topic, Impact of New Normal Way of Education. I take the opportunity to welcome 9 distinguished panelists. Dr. H.K. Chaudhary, a renowned ophthalmologist, Dr. Vidhi Pilania, an eminent psychologist. I wish them both a very happy Doctor's Day. Professor Deviprita Dattagupta, a highly esteemed person and also a parent of 2 kids studying in Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. Dr. Arindam Chakrabarti, Physics Department, Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. Mrs. K. Babydhar, the most pleasant personality from kindergarten to high secondary section of Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. Sir Joydeep Dhar, IT Department, Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. Mrs. Rumli Bhattacharjee, a lady who needs no introduction, a very own English teacher from Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. We also have 2 student representatives, Riddesha Chakravarti of class 8 and Nishtha Dev from 12th Science of Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. I would also like to welcome the man behind the scene, Sir Pranesh Sinha from Boscotech Silchar. To carry forward the virtual panel discussion, we have two aspiring presenters from Class 11 Mass Media Department, Soumya Khandelwal and Sangeeta Kaur of Don Bosco High Secondary School, Silchar. So ladies, the platform is all yours now.
Good evening, everyone. We start the discussion with Madam Bedi. Ma'am, as you're handling a very delicate age group, that is, from 3 to 6 years, ma'am, how are you coping with the new system?
Thank you, Soumya. And thank you, team members, for inviting me for this virtual discussion. I'm indeed overwhelmed to put in my views in regard to the question put forward to me. Up with online.
I think there's some technical problem with Baby ma'am. Maybe the network is not stable.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, ma'am.
Okay. So I'm indeed overwhelmed to put in my views in regard to the question put forward to me, that is coping up with the online mode of education with the 3+ and 2 6 years plus children. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the panel and all the other members present here. Virtual classes can in no way replace the traditional classroom, and I'm sure everyone here will agree to it. Virtual class, by its very essence, not completely real. Teaching online is teaching in virtual reality, but not in reality. Now that we are stuck in this pandemic situation, we have no other option but to comply to what is best for our children. As we are not fully aware of this online teaching and their processes, we are often struggling to get a hang of the technology. All of a sudden, we had to change our way of teaching, and we had to adapt to the new teaching method that are completely virtual and technology driven. Though teachers are facing certain challenges, yet we are trying and doing our very best to cope up with this online mode of education. As students are moving towards virtual learning, and here I'm talking about children of the age group of 3+ to 6+ years, you very well know children are not able to engage and concentrate for a longer period of time. They get easily distracted and lose concentration during this online classes. Though we are trying to include various tools and multiple types of approaches for better learning outcome, yet we see children lack concentration. This has become a big concern for the teachers. When we were asked to start these online classes for the toddlers, we were almost terrified at the very thought of handling toddlers. But thanks to our principal, Father Sujitiga, who was quite flexible and asked us to give it a try. He seemed to be quite confident that we will manage. So we started these online classes. As you all are aware that this age group are quite vulnerable, and this age group has a very short attention span. They cannot stick to one place for a very long time. It is they can sit for at the most to 8 to 10 minutes, even lesser for some children. But here online classes goes on for about 50 minutes to almost 1 hour. Some would sit with their toys. I've seen that in my class. They would sit with their toys and start playing in front of the screen. Some would get up at the slightest distraction and even seems to have zero interest in the class. We could even see parents literally dragging their children, dragging their toddlers back to the screen and even trying to explain what interesting things are happening on the screen. But thankfully, with passing time, things started getting better. With trying to give them with activities of their interest, we were able to glue them to the screen for a longer period of time. Now, gladfully, we get along quite well in this online classes. Though exceptions will always be there, but we are able to handle them much better now than how we started. Though it is still challenging, but things seems to be improving, and we are pretty sure we will fare even better in the coming days. You'll be surprised to know that attendance is about 80 to 85% and even 90% in some of the classes. And I thank the parent for their efforts. Dear members, I really can't help talking about some of the challenges faced by us, the teachers. During a recent conversation with some of my colleagues of the junior sections, of course, I found some common problems faced by almost all the teachers. One of them is students keep on unmuting their microphones in spite of repeated instructions. This actually distracts the teachers while having serious classes. Another concern is struggling with technical issues, which I just had now, that are of course unavoidable, and one of which is a poor connectivity. It causes stress when some technical error occurs during online sessions. Sometimes we have to repeat what we are saying due to voice break, and also when students are unable to join early due to poor connectivity. So a class of 25 minutes would take even 40 to 50 minutes to cover a portion. Sadly, some are not even able to join the classes, that also due to poor connectivity. But we do not leave at that. We send recorded videos of the online classes so that children do not miss out of their lessons. Another concern is that most of us are using smartphones, as I'm using myself also. So we are using smartphones and we are able to see 4 to 6 students at a time, 4 to 6 students at a time on the screen. So for this, we have to keep on scrolling the screen to get a view of all the children together. All the children. Obviously, there is no way to keep a track on who is paying attention and who is not. Also, we find students lack effective communication during online learning, and I'm sure all the teachers here will surely agree to it. We try hard to help them to communicate, but they are unable to express themselves. And that makes it actually difficult for us to understand whether the children were able to grasp the concept or not. Though we provide reading materials, assignments, deliver contents by live sessions, send recorded videos, but in spite of all this, students do not engage themselves as compared to classroom learning, and thus we could see that children struggle with understanding concepts. Learning in school is something different. Learning in school means a school campus with massive classrooms, parks, playground, friends, and of course, teachers around them to guide. But with virtual classes, children have to manage everything in one room with only parents around them. So I think as teachers, we need to understand the situation and be a little flexible, a little more understanding, yet get the best out of them. Though we are doing all that is possible on our parts, the best that we can, yet the benefits seem to get suppressed by the challenges, and there is a constant fear in the minds of the teachers whether we will be able to make these online classes at par with the physical classes, at least to some extent, if not completely. With this, I would like to conclude my views with, of course, a positive note. The efforts made by the educational institutions are certainly welcoming. Learning must go on. And whatsoever the challenges may be, we, the teachers, students, and parents, all need to join hands, keeping a positive attitude to make learning happen even during this difficult situation. We definitely do not want our children to lose out of learning, nor do we want them to lose a year of their academic career. So keeping our fingers crossed, we hope and pray that this situation will very soon get back to normal. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
To carry forward our discussion, we have Sir Joydeep Dhar. Sir, I would like to ask you about the new normal method of education and what would you suggest for those students who do not have the same access to the technology?
First of all, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Father Sujit and Brother Reggie, for providing us the opportunity to speak from our heart. I'd like to thank Shabani Ma'am and her team of Don Bosco Mass Media for providing us the opportunity to share our thoughts. Well, COVID-19 has affected every sector worldwide, particularly in India. Most importantly, COVID has a bad impact on the education system. Due to worldwide lockdown, students cannot go to schools, colleges, and universities. Students are not able to participate in educational activities nowadays. Many educational institutions cancel their exams, classes, and decides to take in online mode. Through online mode, both educators and students get a ray of hope to strengthen their technological knowledge and continue with educational activities. Educators and students around the world are feeling the extraordinary ripple effect of the novel coronavirus as schools and colleges shut down amidst the public health emergency. On 16th March, the central government declared a countrywide lockdown of schools and colleges. On 18th March, CBSE released revised guidelines for examination centers. This includes maintaining a distance of at least 1 meter between the students taking the exam with a class not having more than 24 students. If the rooms of the examination centers are small, they divided the student numbers and makes them sit in different rooms. On 19th March, CBSE and JEE main examinations were postponed till 31st March. On 20th March, Maharashtra government cancelled examination for class 1 to 8 and promoted the students to the next classes, whereas examinations for class 9 and 11 were postponed till 15th April. Madhya Pradesh Board of Secondary Education postponed board exams for class 10 and 12 and asked the school principals to promote or detain students of class 5 to 8 based on their performances in previous terms. Board exams of class 10 and 12 were postponed in Kerala. Assam government cancelled all exams till 31st March. UPSC has also postponed the interview for the Civil Services exam 2019 to be held from 23rd March to 3rd April. The SSC exam in Tamil Nadu and Puducherry were postponed on April 15. School closures in response to the COVID-19 pandemic have shed a light on numerous issues affecting access to education as well as broader socio-economic issues. As of March 12, more than 370 million children and youth are not attending school because of temporary or indefinite countrywide school closure mandated by governments in an attempt to slow the spread of COVID-19. As of 20th March, over 70% of the world's learners have been impacted by closures. As per the researchers, 55% students are concerned about the lack of social interaction in online classes. A staggering 45% of students say that they are unsure about their performance in the exams. Apart from all these, there has to be a strong internet connection to attend online classes throughout the day. Nearly 12% of students complain of low connectivity in their areas, which is prominent. However, the picture in India would be staggering enough. There are thousands of interior villages without any internet connection or even smartphones. There is a great digital divide between urban and rural students. This will lead to increased rates of dropouts among these poor children. Another issue is the format or course pattern in India, which is not in line with the online teaching methodology. This has created many passive learners who are also losing interest in attending these online classes. well, not all the teachers are good enough to handle the technology. So untrained teachers also pose a threat to the very education system. Of course, there are some positive impacts of COVID-19 on education system. Blended learning will be in fashion, where schools will try blending different teaching models. Teachers will be trained and will become more technique savvy. This will be a set of norm in most of the school, colleges and universities. This will be a boost for many companies aiming at developing innovative ways of transforming the e-learning system. The quality of the learning materials will improve over time, making it more interesting and engrossing for the students. There will be more transparency. There will be more transparency in academics. For me, schools should come up with a certain strategies to tackle the problem of what you call unlearn or virtual training or learning. The government should think of providing alternatives for online classes and virtual learning methods. If the situation permits, improvements can be seen. Government should provide the platform for offline classes, maybe in alternative mode, having different groups at different timings. I personally feel without pure interaction with the students, getting their feedback, it is not possible to take up the subjects like computer science, which requires practical knowledge and interaction. Thank you.
Nishtha, as you're representing the students, please tell me about the complications faced by the students in the process of e-learning.
Good evening, everyone. I feel extremely honored and grateful to be a part of this virtual panel discussion. E-learning has brought about significant changes in the lives of students so far. It has reached the peak during this time of pandemic. Switching from traditional classrooms and face-to-face interaction-based training to computer-based training programs in virtual classrooms has been an entirely different experience, not only for the students but also for the teachers. The students find it difficult to adapt to this new method of education. Not every individual is provided with a high-speed internet connection to attend the online classes comfortably. There are times the audio is not clear or the video gets blurred. All these things annoy the children. They become upset and lose interest while attending the classes. Many times, the students face doubts in various subjects and topics which, though are addressed by the teachers virtually, do not become fully clear to them. E-learning has also created a negative impact on the health of the students. Sitting for long hours in front of the screen, attending classes throughout the day, really turns out to be tiresome for the children. It leads to headache, eye strain and fatigue. There is no peer-to-peer interaction, no group discussions held. The sports activities have also come to a halt. The children have become lazy over time. The students are alone most of the time in their house. They feel low and depressed, unable to interact with their teachers and friends freely. All these complications annoy them, and the students gradually lose their self-esteem and self-confidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Roomley, we have a question for you. Ma'am, how can you ensure that the students are equally enthusiastic for online classes as they were for offline classes?
Good evening, everyone, and I convey my thanks to Madam Sharbani and her team for inviting me for this panel discussion. Now, as Sangbida has asked me, how do I ensure? Now, let me tell you, the word ensure is a very big term. It's very difficult to ensure things staying far away from you, teaching from a distance. So ensure is not the right term, I would say. It's difficult. Now we have ways and means to make the class interesting. But for that, as a teacher, I personally feel I need to be digitally literate, which I feel I'm not. There are many issues that take place when I'm taking my class. Certain issues maybe I cannot solve on my own. So that creates a problem in the class. And as even if I have prepared my lesson with something interesting, but if there is a technical hurdle, that lesson cannot be imparted to the satisfaction of all. And moreover, on the part of the students, now as Baby Ma'am said, that in her class, as she is dealing with toddlers, parents are enthusiastic. They bring the children in front of the camera, they sit with the students, but for higher classes, it's not possible and it's not expected also. So that enthusiasm should come from the students themselves, and then only the assurance will follow, and the assurance also that we are learning something from the class. Now, if something happens in the class, it is the duty of the students on the other side also to cooperate with the teachers. What happens if there is a network error? The students, they lose interest, as Nishtha said. Yes, they of course do. It's natural. We are all human beings. We lose interest if there is a disturbance. But on that part also, at the same time, I feel that we should also gather patience to deal with that situation. And we need cooperation. So that assurance, what you said, what you asked me, I think it should come from within a student. I should have the interest to teach you. You should have the interest to learn. Now, first of all, when this situation started of online classes, we were confused. Okay, how to go about it, what to do, will we be successful, will we make a fool of ourselves in the online platform? Many such questions had come into our mind. But I'm grateful to all the teachers, and hats off to all the teachers, not only of our school, teachers all around, that we did not step back. And so we did not stop teaching you. Okay, we committed mistakes. There were students who cooperated, who accepted our mistakes, and learning actually did not stop. So for that learning to continue, interest from both ends is necessary, and then only we can ensure a successful teaching learning process. Thank you.
Today among us, we have Professor Deviprita Dattagupta. Ma'am, I'd like to know your opinion and experience as a professor and a mother adapting the new normal way of life.
Thank you so much, Soumya, for the questions. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So, good evening to everyone present in this virtual meet. At the very onset, I extend my thanks and gratitude to the entire team of Don Bosco for making me a part of this important virtual discussion. Now, coming to the point, like my experience as a professor, as a mother. So let me talk about my experience as a teacher first. During the last 1 year, technological advancement has necessitated a shift from a brick and mortar synchronous environment to, click and learn asynchronous environment in case of higher education. In all the higher education in India and around the world, they have switched on to the online mode. But for teachers like us, it was not possible. It was not that easy, I want to say. And though some of the institution, we have changed the mode of teaching, some around India, they are still now finding it is a Herculean task. It is not so easy. So as a teacher, I have experienced many things. I would just like to focus on 2, 3 important points. The first thing is that uh, actually, we were not completely unfamiliar with the online mode of teaching. We were familiar with the online mode of teaching. We used to use small video clips, a small, like a piece of animation for making the student understand different topics in different subjects. So we were not completely unfamiliar with this online mode. Problem started when this online mode became the only option for teaching, and that also for long-term teaching. There is no other option left. So, like, actually what happened, we are teachers, we are used to the traditional way of teaching. We when we go to classroom, we have a well-equipped classroom with desk, benches, students sitting in front of us. We have green board or white board, whatever, where we explain everything. Like, with this pandemic, now this classroom has extended to our personal spaces. There is no all these days there is no traditional classroom concept anymore. The first thing as a teacher we needed at that time was the infrastructure. Most of us were not having that infrastructure. You need a particular setup to take online classes from home. You need to dress up, you need a board, you need a device, you need uninterrupted internet service, you need uninterrupted electricity, everything. So we had to arrange everything. We did it very nicely. We did, all the teachers, as Rumli madam has said. Now, then the next problem which I face, I had to learn, literally creating digital contents for the students, that too in a very acceptable form, because the online mode of education is unidirectional mode of education, where you cannot see the reactions of students. You are the one person who will be talking, who will be delivering the things to them. You cannot see them. So, like, the two most important cues for us teachers are like body language and eye contacts, which are completely missing in online mode of education. So, like, I do not receive, continue feedback from my students during online sessions, which somewhere reduces the effectiveness of teaching. This is my personal opinion. Now, in addition, one more thing, being a faculty from a science background, often this, science studies are it include practical in form of assignments, projects, field trips, lab-based assignments. So these portion or this part of the practical studies were completely it was completely limited in this new normal mode of education, which is very dangerous, I myself had to stop the molecular biology practical. So without doing that part of practical, students are upgraded to next semester. They don't know what it is actually. This is very dangerous. This is one of the thing of major concern as a science teacher, I can say. Now, the most important part is that while we Indians, we enjoy, the major cultural and geographical diversity, we also suffer from a huge socio-economic divide. Like, statistics shows only a small part of the whole population has access to online education right now in India. And that also the percentage is very low in girls compared to the boys. Statistics says that. Now, interrupted power supply, weak or non-existent internet connectivity, then your affordability to buy, devices are major concerns. I personally have faced these problems. few of my students have, like they have complained about all these things. And, a good percentage of students have dropped their studies. They have left because of all these things. Now, these are the things which I have found during this last 1 year. Now, apart from all this, everything has a good and bad side also. The good side of this online education is that within a stipulated time, we can cater a large population of students, and we can deliver 60 to 70% more material to them. Now, as ma'am has said, it's up to the students how they are going to utilize the material. We are trying our level best. These are the few things which I wanted to share as a teacher. Now, coming to my role or my opinion as a mother, as a parent, because of this pandemic, learning has moved to this our personal spaces, as I have already mentioned. As a parent, we too faced a lot of stress, and we had to change many things in our day-to-day routine. The first change which I had to make is to reschedule my own routine. And I had to make a new routine for my kids, because now they are going to stay at home for longer, almost 24 hours they are staying at home. So I had to ensure that they are giving quality time for studying, for other activities also, because in this pandemic they cannot go out also. It creates a mental blockage for children nowadays. Now, these are the things. Then I had to create a space for their learning. I had to take, I had to buy these devices for them, because both my kids are having eye problem. And then I had to see the adequate light supply is there or not. I had to, go through their assignments and project day to day, whether they are doing it regularly or not. And the most important thing is that I had to, or I am keeping an eye on their screen time usage. That is the most important thing, and I'm really concerned about that increase in the use of screen time. And we have a doctor today, so I think he will throw some light on that. So that much I have to say about my experience as a mother.
Ma'am, could you please share with us your views regarding the online teaching which is imparted to your children?
Okay, so now this because this during the last few months, technological advancements, because of this advance, as I have already mentioned, the classroom is shifted to bedrooms. And when I talk about Don Bosco, like I have mentioned that many of the higher education institutions have smoothly switch on to the online mode of education. Your institution, our institution, Don Bosco, was one of them. So I should say I was amazed to see the way the teachers has stepped up for uplifting the, and for keeping the students' interest in the front line. It was really amazing. I used to discuss with my colleague, like the way you have, they have first created the WhatsApp group, then there was a parent app, then they contacted personally if there was any problem. And if I share my experience, whenever I faced a lot of problems during the starting of this online mode of education, I pinged a number of teachers, and you won't believe, within no time they responded me and the problem was solved. That was really great. And I know Don Bosco always goes for perfection. The other name of perfection. It's really amazing the way you all are working together. It's not a it's not a solo game. It's a game of the whole Don Bosco team. And I'm really grateful and I'm really thankful to the authority, the way they have managed to impart education in this tough and stressful time is really praiseworthy. Thank you so much for this.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am.
you.
My next question is for Dr. Arindam Chakrabarti. Sir, I would like to know how are you balancing your theory and practical classes online? And sir, your suggestion for the students who wants to appear for the competitive exams, keeping in mind the present scenario.
Thank you. First of all, good evening to all of you. I would like to thank all the members of the organizing committee of this mass media group. I feel today's topic on this panel discussion is a matter of great concern for present day educational society, mainly for the students and their parents. Now, coming back to your question, you have rightly pointed out that it became a quite tougher job, or rather challenging job, for all the teachers, mainly from the physical science part. Because the efficiency we could have delivered in a normal day class, I'm not sure how much we could in the present day scenario. So if I compare with a normal day scenario, such as that learning process in physical science mainly comprises of rigorous sessions of theory and practical interaction classes, which I, as a teacher of physics, miss badly. So I myself can sometimes think of that I can balance the theory classes via online mode, but there is no such satisfactory solution for the practical classes as such. Although there are many restrictions for the theory classes also, mainly the eye-to-eye interaction with my students. And also we teachers, while after delivering a lecture in a class, used to have a sense that how much students have gathered from our lectures. This satisfaction of delivering a lecture is also completely missing in these days, which actually drive us to give us the class in more presentable way or more better way. However, this online mode of educational system also has some positive aspect too, as the classes are being made with an audiovisual content. So some of students from class 11 and class 12 that personally contacted me, and they said that they find the class to be more attractive and easier to understand for them. Secondly, as we know that in our school we are keeping all the classes in recorded form, and then we again send them through WhatsApp also. So what I feel that we are creating a virtual e-library of all these classes. That means you have one student is having access to all the chapters and topics in synchronized manner. So suppose he or she want to revise something or revise something in any point of a day, he can quickly go through it. Now, lastly, regarding the practical classes, I find a web portal that is called OLAB, that is developed by Amrita Vishwa Vidyapeetham and CDEC under the guidance or funded by Ministry of Electronics, where practically we are having all the practicals from class 9 to 12 for all the physical science subjects. So I think we can perform the practicals virtually. Now, there is another part of your question is regarding the competitive exam. Now, before going into the in that part, if we just see the statistics, in a particular year, last year, only 2020 and 2021, more than 20 lakh students have appeared for the JEE exam, and there are only 13,000 seats available. So you should have a other than you are a good student, you should have a character. Character means you have to have the courage, or you should be very confident from your inner from your inside that yes, I can crack it. because there are many good students, many toppers who can't crack this JEE exam. So for that, I have shortlisted, I can say some short points which which one student have to have for cracking this competitive exams. So each student nowadays, each students are getting bonus time for preparing for the competitive exams, as they don't have to lose any time in commuting from school to home and vice versa. Secondly, that students should have a fixed routine they should follow during the daytime and during their whole working hours. And also a time-bound plan for entire syllabus should also be there. Further, you have to have the previous year's question papers for different exams like JEE, NEET exams, and there are mock sample papers and topic-wise papers are also there. So you should solve these papers time to time after preparing a topics, and by solving that you will find out that in which topic you are having the good hold and where you are weakening. So then you can make a plan to solve this or make a plan to work upon your weak points. And lastly, in preparation, we as a teacher are always with you. And also nowadays there are some other platforms also available in online mode which can help a student regarding preparing in his or her competitive exam. Hopefully I have answered your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Here's a question coming up from Madam Baby. I think she has got some technical problem. So I would like to move on to Madam.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Vidhi, my question is to you. Kids' online classes are putting parents to test. How do we help parents to overcome their anxiety?
First of all, a very warm good evening to all the team members, and thank you very much for having me here for this very, very relevant discussion of today's time. So your question is that children are putting their parents to stress. Yes. I would like to say that whether it is online mode or offline mode, parental interference was always there, and few parents are kind of, helicopter parents. We call it in our psychological term, all the time they are just roving on their children, and they are kind of there are various types of parenting, and one of these is helicopter parenting. So my suggestion to the parents is that try to make your child independent. Try to make your child learn things by themselves. Okay, when the child is born, the child is not able to walk by himself or herself, then what does the parent do? They just take the child in lap and then the child walks. But once the child starts walking, parents are no more taking the child in lap and walking. But these days, what I have seen, parents are overindulging into their routine activities, into their studies, whether they are, coping with a new mode of learning very well or not. It is good to have a vigilant eyes, but not the over-involvement. Do not do the homework on behalf of your child. Do not just complete the assignment for sake of completing, because it will then defeat the purpose of, giving the assignment from the teacher. If one assignment is given by the teacher and the student is not performing it, just because the parents want their child to be the topper of the class, that's why they are giving their best. The parents are giving their best. So that's not a right approach. I would say whether it is e-learning or the physical learning, in both the cases, parents should understand that what is their role and to what extent their role can become interfering in their children's life. So one more thing I would like to add, that it was always there. The stress of a child going through a learning process was always there, but earlier it was shared between two parties, that is the teacher and the parent. Unfortunately, now only the parents are sharing this burdens. That's why they are feeling very much stressed. So my suggestion for the parents is, please give your child some space, some independence, and let your child learn. maybe your child would become better than what you expect your child to become with your assistance or with your interference.
So here we have another question coming up from Madam Rumli.
Ma'am Vidhi, this question is for you. Recently, the CBSE boards have cancelled the board examination for classes 10 and 12. So this has become a reason of stress, both for students and for parents. Students, some are of course celebrating, but some are really tense. What will happen to their marks? We are getting constant phone calls and this and that. And recently also we had in the news about the suicide of students. Now, we have given from our end assurance that we will look into your marks. Please don't get tense. But apart from this, how do we look into this issue?
So thank you very much for this, again, very, very relevant question. Unfortunately, in our country, we are giving too much importance to the marks obtained by a student. So we need to tell our student the bigger goal of getting education is not just getting good marks. It is to become a good human being and a successful human being. So we can teach our children if they want to become a successful doctor, engineer, or UPSC aspirant, or IS officer, anything, whatever they want to become in their life, that should be their focus. And these are just the milestone. Passing your 10th examination, 12th examination are just the milestone. And these are only numbers. The marks cannot decide your future. The marks cannot stop you to working for harder further. If you are getting lesser marks, still you can work harder and become whatever you want to become. So we need to counsel our children in that way. That okay, fine, you expected that you will get some 98% of mark or you will become the Don Bosco school topper had it been the regular scenario, but it is the rarest of the rare condition. Maybe you will not get. Children should look at the kind of perspective. Why when the results are out, but are they getting education? What is the bigger perspective of their life? How this anxiety is going to help them, or the confidence is going to help them to become a better person in their life. So we need to revamp the total concept of getting good marks. What purpose it solves in their life. So if those who are celebrating, let them celebrate their life, because anyways, as we know that there is a normal problem, there are then very bad students. Fine, all of them are the part of the normal population. That is why it is known as the normal probability curve. So my suggestion for those very brilliant students is don't get disheartened, because nobody has predicted this situation. But still, you cannot just say that because you don't have the sufficient marks to narrate your success story, so that because of that you will become sad or stressed. This is unjustified. And suicide, not at all. It is not an answer to any problem. It is escapism. Talk to your confidant, those who are your very close friend. Talk to your parents about it. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a psychologist about it. There are professional helps available. There are mental health helplines. So if you are feeling that anxiety, please come out and speak about it. Don't get stressed, and don't take any kind of unfortunate steps just because of something which is uncertain. Yes, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now let's move forward with ophthalmologist Dr. H.K. Chaudhary. Sir, is there any rise in the number of patients suffering from any sort of eye complications due to the excessive on-screen time? And what do you prescribe these students as a precautious move to protect their eyes from any further damage?
Hello, good evening. I am audible, madam? I am audible?
Yes, yes,
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, dear. You are very right. Because of these online classes, the problem definitely has gone up. And on this Doctor's Day, I must tell you, our income has also gone up, because there are a lot of patients now. But before I come into this business of my income, since this program is all about coronavirus. First, I appreciate the good initiative taken by Don Bosco Authority. It is a wonderful initiative and I really appreciate it. And I feel every other institution should go for this type of discussion so that more and more purposeful thing can come out. This is my first point. Thank you, Sharbani Madam. Now, since this program is because of pandemic, COVID pandemic, and this is a universal problem, I like to share few interesting points with our student friends before I really answer into the question that I have been given. Now, first is, what is a virus? A virus is a very tiny organic material. It is protein in nature, organic material, either RNA or DNA. And by definition of life, what we read in biology, the definition of life, it is extremely difficult to explain. It is neither alive nor dead. It is not alive or not live because it do not have any metabolism of your own. Because every living organism or every living, even single cell of our body has its own metabolism. But virus has got no metabolism. Virus cannot reproduce itself. I will come into this point because everybody thinks virus reproduces. Virus cannot reproduce by itself. Every living thing produces. We produce children. Trees also have their children, like more trees coming up. Every living thing increases, but virus cannot reproduce itself. Therefore, we cannot call it a living thing. At the same time, it is not dead because it can infect human being or it can infect many other living things. Now, where do we get virus? Viruses are in millions, in plenty everywhere. In everywhere. It is in, except sky probably, except sky, it is present in air, it is present in water, it is present in mud, it is present in our food item, and we are actually inhaling or eating millions of virus every day. The only point is all virus do not harm us. Now, which virus harm us, like coronavirus harm us? I will tell you in small how virus harm us. The virus and its harmful effect is just like, lock and key system. Because in our body, every living cell has got a receptor, a peculiar shaped receptor, every cell. And the virus has got, just to get into it, it has got a process. This process has got also a peculiar shape. Now, I'll just show you, supposing this is the receptor, supposing this is the shape of our receptor, the virus process must fit into it like this. Supposing the virus process is like this, it cannot fit. It must be like this only. Therefore, very few virus can fit into our body surface processes. Now how it affect us, I will tell you, my dear student friends. Once the virus get inside the cell, every cell in human body is actually like a full-fledged, a living being. Like I am, as a whole, I am Dr. H.K. Chaudhary, but every cell has its individual metabolism. It has, factory inside it to produce protein and necessary materials. Now, when the virus get into the cell, what it does, it do not multiply. It has got a genetic code. That's why we cannot call it dead also. It do not need metabolism, but it has got a genetic code. By the help of the genetic code, what it does, it takes up its seat in the driving seat of that cell. So it modifies the metabolism of the cell. So the cell, particularly in nasal mucous membrane, respiratory tract, where the virus enters, what those cell does, instead of producing the normal protein and normal metabolism, this, by the influence of the genetic code of the virus, this human cell, they start producing the clone of that virus. That means the virus which has entered, its genetic code direct the cell, human cell, to produce virus. So it is the human cell which produces virus, not the virus which multiplies, like bacteria multiplies 1 into 2. Virus do not do. So that is little bit about the virus. Now coming to your question. Yes, definitely the problem has increased manifold, because we have, by statistics, approximately 7% error of refraction in children. Only now one guardian and Professor Madam has said that her children are also having little refractive error or something she was telling. So it is because of this undiagnosed and untreated refractive error, the problem has arisen, because now that the children are sitting with their mobile or laptop for hours together, and that also not under supervision of the guardian. What they do, they go close to the item, whether it may be laptop or it may be mobile. I have seen children are almost touching with their face the mobile or the laptop. So the most important thing, they are not maintaining good posture. It is not good that the teaching room from the school room should go to bedroom. It should not go to bedroom. It should go to study room. And there should be a proper chair, table, and students should sit. I know because of poor economy, many children may not have a good study room also, may not have a chair, may not have a table. But ideally, there should be a chair, there should be a table, and be it mobile or laptop. Laptop is definitely better because screen will be bigger. They should sit almost like sitting in the school classroom, and that should be observed by the guardian. Not everything. Yes, my predecessor, I agree with her that everything should not be interfered. They should be given chance to study, but they should maintain good posture. And most important, whenever the children are unwilling to, continue study and complaining of eye or headache or, not comfortable, that should be given full importance. And they should be taken for eye checkup. They should undergo refraction. And if they have got power problem, that should be corrected. I'll just tell you simply two things. You all know that either there may be plus power or there may be minus power. Minus power is myopic, plus power is hypermetropic. Now, hypermetropic children, if they are too close, studying too long, they develop convergent squint, means eyeball go towards the nose. And myopic people also, if they continue study, myopia, their short-sightedness means they can see clearly the near object without accommodation. That is also not good. Normal accommodation should be there. So if you give minus lens, then only see normally by normal accommodation. When they use the laptop without accommodation, myopic people, what they do, they use only one eye like this. So one eye become divergent. So if a myopic child is not treated properly, if they continue homework like online, they will develop divergent squint. And if hypermetropic childs are there, which is by number actually relatively more, they will develop convergent squint. So this is my request to all guardians, all teachers. You also observe if a child is not attentive, I'll tell them that their guardians that they should go for eye checkup. So without comorbidity, ideally there should not be much problem. That is about the children. Yes, another problem is dry eye. But dry eye in children is relatively less. But yes, we are definitely getting some dry eye problem in children because during computer work, during looking into screen for prolonged period, the blinking mechanism is diminished. Sometimes the children do not blink. Even my granddaughter, I see sometimes not studying yet, only 2 years. But when she is looking into the TV screen, she is not blinking for quite some time. I wonder how she maintains without blinking. But this is statistically proved that when we do monitoring, even dry eye syndrome, even in most advanced America and other countries also, it is very common, dry eye. So therefore, those who are doing computer work, they should be asked to blink. They should be asked to blink voluntarily. And for teachers, madams, And for teachers, gents teacher, I will suggest that after, doing some computer work, at least give a break of 1 minute or 2 minutes. Just wash your face with cold water and then come to your work. Another problem with my question was for mainly students, but I want to include teachers also, because many of our teachers are above 40. And after 40, many of our teachers are unwilling to take a spectacle. Yes, they are unwilling. They, for any reason, particularly lady teachers, they don't want to go for spectacle. Of course, respected teachers, I find they are with specs. So my point is, after 40, the near vision recedes. And therefore, it is time for you to go for a spectacle. Don't go for bifocal, because bifocal spectacle will look Buddha or Budi. So therefore, no need of showing your 40 years age. If you don't want to show, take progressive glass. So that will be without any mark and you can comfortably use. Take a stylish frame. It will look even more good. So this is about, and I think that is okay. That is okay. But the only thing, another point is that what Madam has also said, I think parental supervision is really important. I have also some grandson and all from my other, cousin side. So I think they are getting addicted to mobile. Beyond their teaching hours also they don't, because father, what they will do? They will keep the mobile with their son and daughter and they will go for their job or for their business. They will return at night. So whole day the mobile will be with the student only. So therefore parental supervision is, I think, is very important. Not interfering in their study. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable advice.
Riddesha, we have a question for you. First of all, tell me, are you enjoying your online classes? And which method you prefer in future, physical class or online class?
A very good evening to everyone present here. I thank all my teachers for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this discussion. So first of all, as we know this, the situation has introduced us to a new world of learning which we were never familiar with before. I was not familiar with it before. So this situation, the online classes, the learning has switched from physical classes to online classes, as we already know. Now this one has many advantages as well as disadvantages. So now if we look at the advantages and if we look at the fact that there is no other option other than this online classes, and if I look at the advantage as well, I can say that not really enjoying, but I am liking the efforts made by our teachers, absolutely. I thank my teachers for going out of the way and making their best efforts, and I am liking it. It is very beneficial for me, and there are advantages of it. For like example, some topics are there which are understood more nicely in the online platform with the help of videos or PowerPoint presentations rather than the blackboard and chalk method. But on the other side of the coin, it has many disadvantages as well. In the physical classes, the teacher can give some of us some personal attention, those of us who need it. But then in this online platform, the teacher really, she does cater or he does cater to our needs, but then the doubt is not properly understood by us in this online platform. Maybe there is some kind of technical issue. Of course, there are technical issues in the middle of some doubt clearing session. Might be there is some voice break or something. If there is no voice break or anything, then still for some students, for some of my friends, the concept would not be that properly understood. So I won't say that it is equally enjoyable for every one of us. Now, in future, I would obviously prefer the physical classes. As I said, that the physical class can never be a alternative for online classes in the future when the times get better. But then some elements from online classes, as I said, the PowerPoints or the videos which are more engrossing to us can be included, and these are included in our school with the help of the whiteboard or the EduCom, which we call it. It shows us a few animations regarding the particular topic along with our teacher's explanation. So recently I have seen it. This is called hybrid mode of classes. So if we use that, I know and I believe that it will be a very nice experience for us students. Thank you.
And move on to our psychologist, Dr. Vidhi Pilania. Madam Vidhi, the public space of students have been altered and recasted into private space. So, ma'am, how will the students augment their socializing skills and confidence without having a public space?
Thank you, Soumya, for this question. First of all, let us understand this concept of the public space and the social space or the private space. If you are calling the public space is only a space where you are actually lively meeting people, I think that's a wrong concept. Now, this pandemic has given you an ample opportunity to connect with your roots, to connect with your parents, to connect with your grandparents, and to learn much more social skills. So if you feel that just because you're not going to school and you are not able to meet your friends or colleagues or your very special friends, so it will lack in developing social skills, that's not a right notion. We have now ample time to explore our hobbies, to explore ourselves, to explore on our personality. We can develop our personality because earlier we were cribbing that we don't have much time to interact with people around us. You know, when there are some special occasion in your house, you have to be absent because you have a unit test on next day. When guests are coming home, you are not meeting to your guests because you have to study for your next day classes. Now these excuses are not there. If you have grandparents in your house, you have ample time to talk to them, to know more about your culture, to know more about the life. I think they are the best life coaches. So if we talk about social skill is hampered, I don't think so. It has really hampered just because the lively public spaces are not available. Definitely, adolescents are going to miss their peers because at this age, the peers are the one who plays very important role. During childhood, parents are playing very important role, and when a child start going to school, teachers are playing very important role. But after the teenage, peers play very important role. But if we look at the brighter side of this pandemic opportunity, it has definitely given us ample time to efficiently manage our activity scheduling, effectively managing our activity scheduling, to work on ourselves. Earlier, we want to do so many things. I used to counsel children in the school, and they used to tell me that they want to do a lot of things, but they are not able to do because of the shortage of time. Now you have 24 hours. The travel time we have saved, commuting from your house to school, that time has been saved. That time can be utilized. You can sit with your parents and you can talk about your problem. Much more interaction can be made between parent and the child, which was lacking earlier, because children used to spend maximum of their time in school or the coaching classes with the peers, and at times they are not getting the right solution of their problem. So this can be seen as an opportunity to develop social skill rather than cribbing that the social skills cannot be developed. I hope, Soumya, I have given you a satisfactory answer.
Thank you, Madam Vidhi.
Yes, ma'am.
So we had a very fruitful virtual panel discussion here. This was a first attempt and we might have many flaws, so please do forgive us for that. I, on behalf of the entire team, thank the panelists for spending their valuable time for us. And I also thank the presenters and the Bosco Tech team for helping or making this possible. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Vanessa,